Your Minnesota Vikings have a quandary to solve when it comes to the salary cap before the first day of the new league year coming up on March 15th. There's fortunately a lot of moves that are pretty obvious, and the Vikings can easily get underneath the salary cap as well as create some room to extend their own guys as well as be players in free agency. And Pro Football Focus's cap expert Brad Spielberger, who does phenomenal work, go give him a follow. Read his work on PFF as well as give him a follow on the old Twitter machine. He did up fixing the 5 NFL teams with the least salary cap space, cuts, extensions, restructures, and more. And he took a look at the Vikings, currently $24.4 million over the 2023 cap. Again, they have to be under first day of the new league year. And he threw out a couple of moves to get the Vikings under. And it's not even all the moves that are available for the Vikings, which should make you feel good, where there's very easy ways where the Vikings can get underneath the cap and have room to do something in free agency. So his moves: extending Kirk Cousins. Yes, I understand the whole thought of, okay, well, Kirk played well last year. Kirk won 13 games, all that stuff, 8 game winning drives. I think they should and could hitch the wagons to him again for another season. It does not preclude them from going after the quarterback of the future in the draft if the right one presents itself. But extending him a year takes care of Kirk, as well as it alleviates some salary cap space. And this one, he estimated $15 million in space this year. TJ Hawkinson, who's entering his 5th-year option. Now, if they extend him long-term, this could free up some cap space because he's due $9.3 million and change to count against the cap with the remaining deal on his rookie contract. So extending him could alleviate some cap pressure. Restructure Brian O'Neill. He's due a $14.4 million base salary. You can cut that all the way down. It's one of the very easy ways where the player gets the same amount of money, but the team is able to juggle the salary cap issues. And then negotiate pay cut with Thielen, Kendricks, and Harrison. Now, these ones are all very unlikely. Players generally don't take pay cuts, although he does highlight Aaron Jones of the Greasy Grime Green Bay Packers, but I don't know. If they pull this off, sure, but I don't think that Harrison would be interested in a pay cut. I think that the Vikings would almost rather move on from Kendricks at this stage, and Thielen, who knows? Who knows? But either way, all these moves total up. The Vikings are able to get into the plus side of the cap space and are able to go from negative 24.4 to 19.7 million in space. This is the write-up. When you start to break down what the Vikings need to do this offseason, you realize just how old and bloated this rooster currently is. Rude. Although, old and bloated, that's me. And how much work new defense coordinator Brian Flores has ahead of him. It's very presumptuous to assume any player will willingly take a pay cut. Yes. It's borderline delusional to assume all 3 of the above players will agree. Yes. But the trio of Thielen, Kendricks, and Smith are lifers with the club and perhaps could be persuaded to run it back one more time at a reduced right now. I do think the notion of being a one-team player is a little bit overrated. I mean, these guys are business people first, and they're going to go where the money is, right? And outside of Thielen, who of course has Minnesota connections, even though they played their entire careers with one team, I mean, is Kendricks going to be like, hey, I'll take a massive pay cut where I could get $1 more somewhere else? Who knows? Same thing with Harrison Smith. Then Brad continues, a linebacker Jordan Hicks is a cut candidate as well, and maybe that is how Minnesota chooses to save some money at off-ball linebacker. Yes, that does make sense. Running back Dalvin Cook should probably be approached up for a pay cut too, much like the Greasy Grime Green Bay Packers and Aaron Jones, blah, blah, blah. But Dalvin Cook reportedly has already said that he's not taking a pay cut, per Darren Wolfson. Coming off a highly productive and healthy 2022 campaign with 76 quarterback pressures and 10.5 sacks, edge defender Danielle Hunter almost certainly will not play in 2023 for $5.5 million in cash after looking for an extension the past 2 years. Extensions are Hunter, perhaps edge defender Zadarius Smith after proving he can be a high-level edge rusher on a pseudo-prove-it deal, and potentially superstar wide receiver Justin Jefferson could all be in play, further eating into the cash budget available to improve this rooster elsewhere. Long story short, there's a path forward for this Minnesota team, but this rooster could look dramatically different by 2024 if it doesn't already in 2023. And we went over the cap moves that he made. I mean, some are sort of realistic. I don't think the pay cuts necessarily are, but some of the other moves that the Vikings can make, extending Danielle Hunter, reduce his cap hit in 2023. Same thing with restructuring of Zadarius Smith. Perhaps exchanging a lower amount of guaranteed money. Well, putting in some guaranteed money for a lower cap hit. Yes. Cutting guys like C.J. Ham, Chris Reed, Jordan Hicks, where I love CJ Ham, but he's going to be a 30-year-old fullback, and they're phasing out fullback on the offensive side of the ball. Is what it is. And then also the re-signing of Diesel Dalvin Thompson, where if they don't re-sign him, he's $7.5 million dead on the 2023 cap. If they do, he's only $2.5, and then they kick the $5 million to the rest of the prorated years on his voided contract. And then, of course, cutting or trading Dalvin Cook. So I'm not worried about the Vikings cap situation. There are lots of ways that the Vikings can clear up that $24.4 million that they're in the hole, as well as probably clear up 20-30 million to be able to extend their guys, as well as do some damage in free agency. So as PFF Brad outlaid, I mean, it's pretty easy, and a lot of those moves don't really cut to the bone. I mean, there are a lot of it is what it is type moves out there, and Kwesi and Rob Brzezinski, they're going to have to be making them very soon before the start of the new league year. But your thoughts are thoughts. Pro Football Focus fix the Vikings cap issues. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts and their thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. We'll support the work. Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.